Chapter 15. Infinity. By the second ring we dashed to the door. Cat pushed past me, elbowing me in the stomach. By the third ring we were on the landing. We heard Dad answering on the extension in his and Mum's bedroom. We didn't dare go, but we listened. But Dad's voice is soft and I could hear nothing. Then Aunt Gloria staggered out of Cat's room in a silky pale blue nightdress. Her eyes were wide open and her hair was messy. "Salem!" she whispered. Her teeth chattered as if she was cold, although the temperature that night was not due to drop below 15 degrees. She flung open Mum and Dad's bedroom door just as Dad hung up. "Salem?" she repeated. "No," Dad said. "It wasn't Salem. It was the police." "They found him! Police say they found him!" "They're not sure." Cat was holding my arm and squeezed it hard. Her mouth was round like an O, a very big O. She was staring at Dad's face and something she saw there had made her startled. So I looked at Dad too. I could see strange movements going across his lips and eyebrows. There were small globules of sweat on his forehead. It was not an expression I'd ever seen on him before. "What do you mean they're not sure? They've either found him or they haven't," Aunt Gloria said. Her voice had a strange wobble in it as if it made pumping start in my ears. It's like this," Dad said. "They've found someone, not far from the London Eye, near the river, a young Asian boy." That's it, I thought, remembering theory number 4. They found somebody who's lost his memory and doesn't know who he is anymore. He's been wandering around all day without knowing where to go. "That must be him," Aunt Gloria said. "Why didn't they bring him right here?" "They couldn't," Dad was saying. "Because, you see, this boy, whoever he is, he could be anyone at all, anyone at all. This boy is..." I was waiting for him to say he'd lost his memory, or maybe that the blow to his head had landed him in hospital, so he was not safe yet to move. I didn't expect what came next. He's in the morgue." I won't say much about what happened next. Aunt Gloria was sick on the carpet. Mum leaped out of bed. She sobbed and hugged Aunt Gloria, saying it couldn't possibly be Salem, while Dad started throwing outdoor clothes on over his pyjamas, and Cat stood there, gripping me. I turned to the door and started thumping it. Dad put a hand on my arm, and the next thing I knew, the police had arrived and taken Dad away to look at this young Asian boy in the morgue, who might or might not be Salem. Aunt Gloria was too ill to go. She lay on the sofa covered in a blanket, saying, "Salem, Salem, don't let it be you on that cold slab, Salem, Salem." Her teeth chattered, and Mum sat on the arm of the sofa stroking her hair. Then Cat did something brave. She made a pot of tea, even though her hands were shaking. That's Cat. Horrible about small problems like missing a bus or being 10 pence short for the CD she wants, but good for the big problems, like when Mum had a big operation the year before. She made us frozen dinners and asked Dad how his day at work had been while we ate them. Then, when Mum got home, she ran up and down the stairs with cups of tea, flowers and magazines, and Mum said she didn't know how she'd have coped without her. The others had tea in the living room, waiting for Dad's return, and Mum had to bring the mug up to Aunt Gloria's lips to let her drink it as if she was a baby. I brought back my tea back up the stairs to my room. On the desk, I found the list of theories and the souvenir photo that Cat had bought from the will. I stared at them without seeing them. Dover, White Portland, I thought. Northwest 6 to gale 8, becoming cyclonic. 54 minutes went by between when Dad went out of the door with the police and when he came back. That's 3,240 seconds. I read somewhere that as you get older, your brain speeds up. You think time goes by faster. So perhaps I felt the 3,240 seconds the longest. But Cat said she was sure Aunt Gloria must have found them longer than me. She said the more agony you feel, the more time slows. And Aunt Gloria must have been in agony than anyone else because it was her son that might or might not be lying on that cold slab. A young Asian boy. Salem or not Salem. Something terrible happened during those 54 minutes. No amount of making up shipping forecasts could stop me from thinking about it. Death. I realised it was real. I would die one day. Cat would die. Mum would die. Dad would die. Aunt Gloria would die. Mr. Shepherd at school would die. Every living thing on this planet would die. It was not a question of if, but when. Of course I'd known the death before, but during those 54 minutes, I really knew it. That's when I realised that there are two kinds of knowledge, shallow and deep. You can know something in theory, but not know it in practice. You can know part of something, but not all of it. Knowledge can be like the skin on the surface of the water in the pond, or it can go all the way down to the mud. It can be the tiny tip of an iceberg, or the whole 100%. I thought of the long chain of all the days of my life and wondered how far along that chain I'd already got. Was I just still starting, halfway along, or nearing the end? If it was Salim on the cold slab, did he know when he got up this morning that he reached the last link on his chain? I thought about God and immortal souls and eternity. I remembered how years ago when Father Russell in our church taught me that God had made me, I'd asked him, if God made me, who made God? Father Russell had smiled and said, I was born a theologian, but didn't answer my question. Did another God make him? I'd say. And in my mind's eye, I saw a chain of gods, each having made the last, going back to infinity. Father Russell had sat down beside me and said, there is only one God, Ted. One God who has always been there. He is outside of time. He is beyond our understanding. He is always with us. I wondered now about this God who was beyond our understanding. I closed my eyes. I tried to imagine him. But no matter how hard I thought, all I could see were clouds of confusion in a vast and silent universe. And if I still had my trampoline, I would have jumped extra hard and extra high. Dad came through the front door, 3,240 seconds later. I went downstairs, a different Ted from the Ted that had gone up. I had stared death in the face. When I saw Dad, I knew that he too had stared death in the face. His eyes were looking far away into the same vast void. Mum, Aunt Gloria and Kat threw themselves at him. No, he kept saying, drawing the three of them into embrace. Don't worry, it wasn't Salim. It was somebody else, some other boy. Then he looked over at their heads, at me, and I looked back at him, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing. The someone else, the boy who wasn't Salim, the young Asian who was lying on the slab. If not Salim, who? There were shrieks, tears, laughs. There were countless thank gods. I knew it wasn't him. I told you so's. I didn't say anything. Dad stood still among the confusion, shaking his head. Then he said in a quiet way, it was a boy, some young boy of the street, maybe a bit older than Salim, but smaller, brown and skinny, a bit of a moustache just like Salim had when he arrived. Before he shaved it off, Kat said, and the same black jeans, a kind of lost innocence in his face, a boy who'd never had much in the first place, I'd say. There was dirt in his fingernails and bruises on his arm. Dad shook himself as if he was waking up from a nightmare. How did he die, Dad? Kat said. He didn't answer. I need a drink, Faith, he said. A scotch. Kat took me by the arm. Ted, let's go. She whispered. I heard Aunt Gloria crying again, quietly this time. Kat went back upstairs and I followed her. Without saying anything, Kat curled up on the Lila and I got back into bed. The boy on the slab, a boy of the streets. I turned off the light and listened to Kat's breathing, which showed that she was still alive. Dirt in his fingernails. Salim or not Salim? The words went round in my head like a scary nursery rhyme, echoing into infinity. It was a long time before I went to sleep.